Hello everybody, I am live here on Facebook, it would seem. Normally for anybody who is normally an Instagram person, you would see me on Instagram doing the lives for Your Baby Club, but we've switched it over here this week. Here I am to answer your questions. I have to tell you, I have entered, my son has forced me to enter a competition with Magic FM to win £22,333.44. So if my phone rings, I'm sorry guys, but I'm going to have to answer, but it won't. So I am here to answer your questions and try and put your mind at ease or let you know about things that you want to know about. So fire away with your questions. What else can I tell you while I'm waiting for a question? So I am the Honest Midwife. And I don't get that name lightly. I don't hold anything back. So for anybody who is looking for antenatal classes at the moment, I'm running a free labour and birth antenatal class, which is open to anybody. You don't have to do anything, buy anything, you just need to sign up. And that is a full-on class that will do everything about straightforward labour and birth. And the other 4 classes in the course are £5 each, and they're about 2.5 hours. So you get quite a lot of bang for your buck. And I've also got a couple of online learning packages like hypnobirthing and that sort of stuff. So that's around. If you're interested, either go and the easiest way is to go to The Honest Midwife on Instagram. If not, drop a message after this to Your Baby Club and we'll pick it up and direct you. So there's a few of you here who's got some questions. Oh, a little heart there. It's a bit different on here because on Instagram you can see everybody popping up and see who's here. I don't really know. I've not done this very often. I'm not sure who's here, but there's a few of you. Hi, hello, Jasmine. Oh, it's Jazz. Hello. So Jazz is one of the main people behind Your Baby Club. She's the one that brings you all the fab offers and details and blogs. So we've got the big boss here looking. What else can I tell you? For anybody who's worrying about Corona, which is a bit of a worry at the moment, although I think we're all getting a bit bored, aren't we? The rules and guidance at the moment is staying pretty much the same, in the fact that there are some restrictions around partners, but there's still the hope that we're going to get partners to be there at delivery. And so the times that you maybe will see some restrictions around that is, say, if you need to be induced and you're on the antenatal ward, it could be that the partner's not allowed there for that particular part, but as soon as you are on the labour ward, they're called in. And there could be some restrictions after you've had the baby. So generally you're on the labour ward for about 3-4 hours, and I would anticipate that your partner will be allowed to stay for that period of time. But once you are moved to a postnatal ward, they may well be hoofed out. So that's the restrictions on that. What else can I tell you? I don't know, somebody needs to ask me a question. There must be some questions coming my way. What did we have? Somebody asked a question about formula feeding, which was one of the videos I was supposed to be doing. Sorry, Jazz. Asking how many bottles you should give a baby in a day or how much. And the answer is it varies from baby to baby, but the general guide is each baby should have between 120 and 150 ml of milk per kilo per day. Jazz, throw some questions at me. What questions have we had recently? What's a common question? I know what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about perineal massage because I'm going to assume that a lot of you here are pregnant. So, perineal massage. This is your bum hole. My son keeps asking me, what's that mark? That's my bum hole. So this is your bum hole, and this is your vagina, and this bit here is your perineum. So it's the perineum that actually often gets, it has tears, you need stitches, that's where the trauma happens. And there is some good quality research that suggests that perineal massage from 34 weeks, thank you Louise, from 34 weeks can reduce the significance of tearing. And it's really important that you understand it's the significance of tearing, not the chance of tearing. The vast majority, 9 out of 10 first-time mums, will have some level of perineal trauma. So from 34 weeks, it is advised that you try to do some perineal trauma. And that is basically your thumb behind the inside of the vagina and your finger on the outside and some deep tissue massage. So you can use olive oil, coconut oil, any sort of oil. I wouldn't use, what is it, sunflower oil. It smells like a chip. But any sort of almond oil was always a good one years and years ago. So you don't need to go out and spend a massive amount of money, but it is thought to be a good thing to do. What have we got here? What kind of guidelines are there for elective section? What do you mean, Matilda? Do you mean in terms of corona, or do you mean generally? If you had an emergency cesarean the first time around and are going for an elective this time, you will find that it is far, far calmer. And in all honesty, it's a much more pleasant experience because obviously you were expecting to have a cesarean, you know the date, you know to a certain degree what's going to happen. But everything is done much slower. I would be expecting that your partner again would be allowed into theatre as long as he or you are not symptomatic. So if you're going in and have got symptoms, they're not going to want him to be in there even if he hasn't, just because obviously he could be infected. But assuming that you are both well, the thought is that he would be able to, or she would be able to go in with you. So if that's what you mean, I'm hoping that I've answered your question on both of those. What else can I talk to you about? So anybody, I'm assuming that the people that have stayed on and have started talking about pregnancy things are having babies. So my question is, have you all managed to do antenatal classes? And if not, if you're looking for antenatal classes, because I haven't got any questions, I can signpost you a bit better. So my Instagram is The Honest Midwife, so at The Honest Midwife, or you can go to the website, which is Let's Talk Birth and Baby. And the information is also on there. So yeah, so in terms of COVID, Matilda, with your elective cesarean, I'm not anticipating that things are going to be drastically different. I think the process of actually doing the cesarean is taking longer because there's lots more precautions going on. But it's really difficult, these questions, because you do find that there are variances from hospital to hospital. Unfortunately, there's not a blanket one size fits all, and some hospitals are doing things slightly different. So in terms of if you're talking about partners being allowed, it's always best to go to them and ask what their plans are. But I would hope that they would let them in. Hello, Jotika. Just wanted to know what exercise is better when you're 29 weeks pregnant. So again, a lot of this depends on how active you were beforehand. So we don't want anybody to just suddenly, although it's tempting if you feel a bit, to suddenly think, oh, do you know what, I'm just going to go and get fit. We don't want you to do that. But if you are a relatively active person before, as long as your body is telling you that you're okay, you can continue with that activity. I would say a pregnancy Pilates or a yoga is very good. I know that your baby club has got some live people coming on here and there and everywhere, so keep an eye on that. I have a physiotherapist that's doing sessions via my booking service. So this Saturday at 1:30, she's doing a pregnancy Pilates class. So she's a specialist women's physio. It's a full hour and she's doing it every Saturday. That's £5. So you could sign up for something like that. Pregnancy yoga, walking. What website would be better for antenatal exercise? So antenatal exercise, like you say, during pregnancy, I think you would be looking at a pregnancy Pilates or a yoga, that sort of thing, to help you with your breathing and your stretching. The good thing with Pilates is that what it teaches you is about good stability and when you are not standing in the right position or moving in the right position. So it will really help you in those later weeks, especially if you've got pelvic girdle pain. And I can really vouch for Michelle. She's absolutely amazing. So definitely give that a go. And it's a £5, so it's not going to break the bank. We've got a question here. I've been breastfeeding for 5 months now and getting on quite well with it, but my nipples are so chapped that it hurts when my baby feeds. How do I stop it hurting? And I will have to stop breastfeeding while it heals. Stopping breastfeeding is not ideal. What I would maybe say is that you could try a nipple shield while it heals to see how that gets on. It's really about understanding whether it was painful prior, whether it's always been painful the whole way through. And if that's the case, it's possible that we didn't have a great or 100% latch in the first place. However, the fact that you breastfed for as long as you have, which is amazing, would say that your baby has thrived and has grown. So I'm not sure this is a new thing, but good quality nipple cream like My Expert Midwife, they do a good one, and the Lancino one is a good one. Really making sure that you've got dry breast pads in all the time, you're not got wetness next to them, and regular nipple creams. When should baby have established a routine with movements? Is it 28 weeks? Again, this is such a difficult one, and everybody really understandably gets really stressed about this word routine. And I think the easiest way, rather than say routine, I always say reassurance. Are you reassured by your baby's movements? And I would say that yes, by 28 weeks, you would have felt enough movements, and your baby is big enough now that you should be getting to a point where you will feel frequent movements, to the point that if you are not feeling them as frequently, you'll be like, oh, I've not felt the baby move as much today. You know, you will start to have those thoughts. And I have a really low threshold for getting checked out. I just think, come on in. At least, worst case scenario, you might have to sit there for an hour if it's really busy. But I just think, actually, let's put your mind at rest and get you checked out. So, but yes, from 28 weeks, I would say definitely. This may be a silly question. Oh, if I had £1 for every time I heard that. With the nice weather, I'm 36 weeks, am I allowed to sunbathe? Oh, I am with you, I love sunbathing. Not that I get the time. You've just got to be sensible. I would make sure that something is sort of covering your belly, and be sensible. If you think about how you are feeling in that sunbathing when you're lying there going, oh, bloody hell, it's hot, I'm going to get a nice lolly in a minute. Your baby is there with you. So I would just be mindful of making sure that you are really nicely hydrated, having lots of fluid, maybe sit in the shade a little bit more than full on baking yourself. You know all this, it's all, you know this question. But yeah, just take it steady, proper sun cream on, but yeah, in the shade for a bit, in for a bit, out for a bit. I'm having problems with sleeping at night. What is your advice? This follows on from, well, when should you not sleep on your back anymore? June, in terms of when you should not sleep on your back, I would say once you've got a bump. So any time when the baby's just sort of like a little peanut and it's in your pelvis, then that's not as much of an issue. But once we've got that big bump, what happens is as you lay flat on your back, the baby pushes down on one of your major arteries, and that can drop your blood pressure and drop blood supply circulating. So that's the reason. So I would say once you've got a bump, then I would try to. And some, you know, you can sleep sort of propped up a little bit. If people really do like to sleep like this, then prop something up, but ideally on your left-hand side. I have a problem with sleeping at night. What is your advice? Oh, my lovely. It's so difficult, isn't it? Because there is no silver bullet for this one. You could get some of those nice pillows that are around, you know, the 16-foot long ones. Keeping something in between your knees to stop your hips hurting. Doing some gentle pelvic tints before and after you get into bed, and when you wake up in the night, because you know, giving that flexion and sort of really stretching out to get rid of any stiffness, getting out of bed, waddling around a bit, and then getting back into bed to try and get comfortable. It is just a take it while you can sort of thing. And I think for any of you that are on maternity leave or working from home, if you do get the opportunity to have a nap during the day, do that, because I find a lot of women will say, you know, at night time I can't sleep, but during the day I manage to have a nap, so maybe try to do that. What vaccinations will my baby need after she's born, and will they still be going ahead after lockdown? So babies don't get vaccinations until they're 8 weeks, and I would imagine that that is still going ahead. But again, there's this variance across the country, so I think the best place is to ask your local place of what you're doing. Right, Louise Gregory must have asked a question, because then she's put here we go. Oh, she's 28 weeks. Okay, I've answered that one. The big pillow has helped me. Yeah, everybody swears by them. I'm having horrible leg cramps in the night. Can I do anything to help and ease these? Again, Pilates, yoga, anything that's going to stretch out those muscles during the day. And if you are waking up, just giving some movement into them. But I would imagine by what you're saying, Louise, that these cramps are probably waking up and they're pretty miserable. What you do need to do is give your partner a good old hoof very quickly and get them to push the top of your foot back towards you. So flexing and really stretching that muscle out to try and relieve that. Any advice on restless legs? Oh, unfortunately, no. There's no real quick fix for restless legs. And again, it's another common complaint. Staying hydrated, keeping moving, doing those yoga, Pilates, that sort of thing. Where can I go for help with back pain with physios and osteos closed? I'm 29 weeks. So this is a really good question, because although we think that physios and osteos are closed, a lot of the private ones are doing online consultations, and they're finding them very successful. So Michelle, my women's physiotherapist, she is doing mummy MOTs and pelvic assessments for women with pelvic girdle pain via Zoom and that sort of thing. And that's the lady who's doing the Pilates. And she would be able to help you and certainly give you exercises. But there's lots. You can go anywhere. But I would definitely try and seek out a specialist women's physio, because they are so, they're doing it all the time with pregnant women, postnatal women. That's the route I would go. Where can I go for help with back pain? Oh no, I've just answered that one. I think I've answered all these questions. Yeah, I've answered all of your questions, I think. Thank you, Louise, who's done my classes, vouching for them. I've intensive pain with any movement in my wrists, thumbs. I think it's de querens tendinitis. I'm 30 to 40 weeks and solo. I don't know what that means. You're worried how I'll manage when baby arrives. Any advice? I mean, it could be what's called carpal tunnel, which should hopefully relieve once the baby's come. But the thing is, with any sort of nerve damage, it does take time for these nerves to recover and get better, so it's not often immediately. I mean, it's very difficult to know the severity of what you're suffering with. I honestly don't know. I don't know. If it's that severe that you can't pick up your baby and you're living on your own, I would suggest at this point sort of thinking about, if it's going to be that bad, is there a plan B? Can I go and stay with my mum, my sister, my friend, somebody where you could maybe either them come and stay with you or you stay with them? I suppose is basically think about what would you do if we weren't in lockdown, because the scenario that you're considering is that you can't physically pick up your baby because you're on your own, which is, I can imagine you must be really worried. But I think in those circumstances, we need to accept that if that is the situation, you forget the social distancing, you're going to have to find somewhere that you can go where someone's able to handle your baby. So that would be my advice, really. I'm just 18 weeks pregnant. Is being extra gassy normal during pregnancy, or do I need to change it? No, it's normal. I think there's so much going on, and sometimes our digestion is a bit slow. And yeah, no, I wouldn't change your diet, because you may change your diet and end up with a completely different problem. I am sick all the time and it scares me. Oh, bless you. I know it can be really scary. I wouldn't let it scare you as such, but I can understand it's very, very miserable. Now, there is let me just have a look for you, because there is a charity that, I'm just going to look it up for you now. And they specialise in, and it's called the pregnancysicknesssupport.org. And it's like a real good support network and guidance for people who have got really extreme sickness. So maybe give them a look out. They're very good. Is it worth hiring a TENS machine or getting a birthing ball for early labour? TENS machine, absolutely. Hold that thought. I shall just get one, just in case anybody doesn't know what one is. I wish I'd gone into a job where shoes and handbags got sent to me, but no, I get TENS machines. So this is a TENS machine, and it comes with 4 sticky pads. And these pads stick on your lower back. So 2 on your lower back, just above your bottom, and 2 slightly higher up. And what happens is they send electrical pulses to those pads, and it's sort of like, now look a bit odd. And then there's a boost button on here. So when you're getting the contractions, you can go zzz, and it's quite an intense feeling. But it's thought to encourage your body to release its own natural endorphins. So, and by doing that, which is its own body's own natural painkillers, and it also is thought to confuse the pain signals. Now I do, as luck would have it, have a discount code. So if you Google baby care TENS and put in the discount 10 honest midwife, you will get 10% off. But I think these are brilliant. I used one and I would definitely recommend them. So these are good, and this is the pretty standard one that's on the market. Hope that's answered your questions. Birthing ball, yeah, they're great. They're great at any point during labour, so that you are able to sort of move around, mobilise, get that pelvis moving. Is Braxton Hicks meant to hurt? So I would say that Braxton Hicks can be uncomfortable. I wouldn't expect them to really be really painful. And basically it's just your tummy will go really rock hard, and it can be quite intense, but I would say intense more than painful. I'm experiencing partial numbness on the surface of my bump. An area to the left of mine is numb. It's weird. What causes it? I'm 30 weeks. It's likely to be some form of nerve compression. I wouldn't expect that it's anything to worry about, and I would expect it would be something that will rectify once your baby has arrived. I'm 30 weeks pregnant and the baby is breech. Shall I start with those exercises to turn him? And how do I know if he's turned? I'm afraid I will turn him back if he's become head down, and I don't know. Thanks. I think at 30 weeks it's maybe a little bit too early, because at 30 weeks I don't generally give women positions of babies at that point, because I think there's so much can happen in another, 2.5, maybe 3 months. So, I spoke to somebody the other day that was talking about the positions, and a lot of it's like quite extreme, like headstands and line aligning boards and stuff. So I think at the minute I would probably hold off a little bit. Your midwife will be able to tell you when you next see her whether the baby is still breech. And I think by 34 weeks, if you think the baby's still breech, then yes, you could maybe try some spinning babies stuff. I'm 22 weeks pregnant and so far I'm hating it. Oh, bless you. Is it supposed to get better? When I do get the pregnancy glow and feel it, when will I get the pregnancy glow? Is it a myth? I can't be the only one that's hating every minute. You're not the only one. You are not the only one. And it's horrible when you feel like that. And it's funny because I put a post out a couple of days ago about baby's movements. What does it feel? I'm basically saying to people, what's your description? What does it feel like? And a poor lady has come up today and she said, because everybody's like, oh, it's just the best feeling. It's the best feeling. It's the best feeling. And this poor lady's come up today and she said, I absolutely hate it. I just hate the feeling of it. I don't like it. It's alien to me. And you can really tell in her response that it's really bothered her. And I felt so sorry for her. Not everybody loves being pregnant. And for some people, if you're being sick all day, every day, it is very difficult to feel that big connection. And some people don't have that glow. And I think my advice would be, if you've got to this point, I would stop waiting for it and sort of think, okay, I'm just going to get through it. Because I think if you keep waiting for it, you're going to keep feeling disappointed. I think trying to work out what it is that you're hating. So if it's because you are constantly being sick, again, have a look at that charity that I've said. If it's because you don't, there's various reasons why you may not be liking it. And I think trying to separate those off and sort of think, right, that's one individual problem. Is there anything I can do about it? If it is sickness, no, it goes against the grain, but trying to make sure that you are eating regularly, you're keeping hydrated, and that you are resting up wherever possible. But the only thing I will say is that you won't be pregnant forever. So your glow will come back. It may just need your baby to arrive for it to happen. I've just had a scan and was told my placenta is low and 4 millimeters from my birth canal. I'm 18 weeks. Does this mean I'll need to have a cesarean section? I would say very unlikely. Not impossible, it can happen. But 4 millimeters in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like a lot, but it is actually a significant, it's a reasonable amount. And the vast majority of placentas move out of the way. So it's a little bit too early to confirm, and normally we don't even scan till 20 weeks, so it could be that if you'd have gone at 20 weeks it would have been even further away. So I would just hold off on the worry at the minute. I'm 30 weeks pregnant with my first, congratulations, and I'm completely overwhelmed about whether to swaddle or not. I'm concerned about not doing it right, and the heat is due at the end of July. There is so many conflicting things online, and if I don't swaddle, is he okay in just a grow bag? Any tips? My first tip would be sign up to my practical parenting class, or sign up to the whole course, because if you haven't already, and we talk about swaddling in that section. What I would say though is that I think babies are fine swaddling. We've been swaddling for millions and millions of years. And in answer to the question, the grow bags or grow snugs that you can get, so not necessarily grow, but you know, the principle of being in a bag, they do a similar thing to swaddling as well. So either one is fine, but there's loads of questions answered in that practical parenting about safe sleep and jaundice and swaddling and nappies and what to dress them in. So you might find that helpful, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. If you've had a C-section, do kicks feel different with subsequent pregnancies? I still have some numbers from a C-section 2 years ago. Well, here you go. I can completely answer this from personal experience because I had 2 babies by cesarean, and I did have some numbness around my scar for quite a considerable length of time after them. And I had 4 years between them. So I think by the time 4 years had come, I was absolutely fine with those movements. What I would say, I don't know how many weeks pregnant this lady is, but I would suspect that as the pregnancy goes on, the movements will become more and more prominent. But again, it always comes back to, if you're not reassured, go and get checked out. Okay, I think I've answered all of them. They all came thick and fast at the end there. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this. As we said, it's the first time I've hopped on over to Facebook, so it's all a bit new for me today. I know that we're going to put a post up after this that tells everybody how they can access these courses. And as I said, the first one is free. So just give it a go and see how you get on. And give me a follow on The Honest Midwife. We've now got more questions coming in. Kirst Ellis, any tips on how to keep baby cool in the summer? I'm due in a few months and my house is super hot. It's a really difficult one, especially if we have super hot weather. I mean, it's really hot today where I am. Again, just layer them up, layer them down, and they should just feel how you want to feel. And it's really hard when you haven't got this baby here to visualize how that will feel. But you generally get to know when you pick your baby up, they're too warm, they're too cold. And at the end of the day, a really hot day, if everything is really warm, you're just going to have them in their nappy. That's the best you can do. You can't cool them any more than that. Maybe a cool cloth on them, just dab them down if it's really super duper hot. We don't want them to get too cold too quickly. But yeah, just in their little nappies. I'm 38 weeks pregnant with my first baby. Any tips for labour? That's a very long answer, which I can answer for you by you signing up to that free session on Saturday or Sunday, because it's about 2 hours, my lovely Laura. I can give you lots of hints, tips, what to do, what not to do. I think a one statement answer for that question is try to stay as calm as possible. And remember, it will end. It's not going to last forever. You won't be in labour forever. Might feel like it, but you won't be. So just keeping nice and calm. Are there any tips to make labour easier, such as exercises beforehand? Again, I keep banging, and I should practice what I preach, because I know that Pilates is supposed to be amazing, and I don't do it. But I wish I had. I wish I'd taken more notice of my core. So pregnancy Pilates, pregnancy yoga, as I said, that Your Baby Club have frequently got guest appearances from yoga teachers and Pilates teachers, so keep an eye out from that. They're free. And Michelle, who does who's the specialist women's physio, she does a Saturday afternoon 1:30 hour-long pregnancy Pilates class for pregnant women. Pregnancy Pilates class for pregnant women. And that's £5, but she's brilliant. So that's another thing that you can do. I think that's it. I think we're done. So if you want to have more of my goings on, so another thing to let you know about, on Instagram next week, I spoke to this lady today. She was really, really interesting. She works with an organisation that campaigns for women's sexual health following having had your children and moving into the menopause. And we're going to have a really frank conversation next week on Instagram, on an Insta Live, about all that stuff that we just don't talk about as women. So we'll be talking about vaginal irritation after birth, that feeling of not wanting to have sex because it's hurting, the lubrications that people use that add to the misery. And I think that all round discussion around, we've for so long as women sort of said, oh, it's normal to not want sex. Well, actually, I think what this lady's saying is it really isn't. Really, we shouldn't really feel like that, and we need to have a chat about it and work out what it is that's causing us to feel like that, because it's a big part of our lives and we shouldn't necessarily feel like that. And we should be looking after our pelvic health much more, which is something that I am really keen to get for women to really understand. In European countries, it's as standard that you get a proper women's pelvic assessment. That's a vaginal examination to see whether there's any separation of your muscles, and advice on how to get your inner workings back as they should be, so that we don't wee ourselves when we sneeze, and we can laugh and we can go on a trampoline. You know, I'm 43, I couldn't go on a trampoline and I couldn't do star jumps if hell had me. So you guys are young and fit and ready, and you need, this is so important. So please do join me for that. I'll be putting it on my Instagram. And tomorrow I'm having a conversation with Nadia Essex, who is the #1 podcaster of The Clueless Mummy. So that's tomorrow on Instagram. So lots going on my side on The Honest Midwife, but I suspect I will be popping up on this page on a very frequent basis. So if you've got lots of questions, just send them and I will answer them in these lives. Thank you for all your questions. It's been fab, and I shall see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.